Hello, Christ is in our midst. I'm Father Kevin Long of St. Elias, Antiochian Orthodox Church in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Today's Tuesday, February 13th, 2024, and here are the readings for today. A reading from St. James Catholic Letter, chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. Brethren, let not many of you become teachers, for you know that we who teach shall be judged with greater strictness. For we all make many mistakes, and if anyone makes no mistakes in what he says, he is a perfect man, able to bridle the whole body also. If we put bits into the mouths of horses, that they may obey us, we guide their whole bodies. Look at the ships also. Though they are so great and are driven by strong winds, they are guided by a very small rudder wherever the will of the pilot directs. So the tongue is a little member, and boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by a small fire, and the tongue is a fire. The tongue is an unrighteous world among our members, staining the whole body, setting on fire the cycle of nature, and set on fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and sea creature, can be tamed and has been tamed by humankind, but no human being can tame the tongue, a restless evil full of deadly poison. With it we bless our God and Father, and with it we curse men, we who are made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come blessing and cursing. My brethren, this ought not to be so. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 11, verses 11 through 23. Let us be attentive. At that time Jesus entered Jerusalem, and went into the temple. And when he had looked round at everything, as it was already late, he went out to Bethany with the 12. On the following day, when they came from Bethany, he was hungry, and seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. And he said to it, May no one ever eat fruit from you again. And his disciples heard it. And they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple and began to drive out those who sold and those who bought in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. And he taught and said to them, Is it not written, My house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations? But you have made it a den of robbers. And the chief priests and the scribes heard it and sought a way to destroy him, for they feared him, because all the multitude was astonished at his teaching. And when the evening came, they went out of the city. As they passed by in the morning, they saw the fig tree withered away to its roots. And Peter remembered and said to him, Rabbi, look, the fig tree which you cursed has withered. And Jesus answered them, Have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, Be taken up and cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that which he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Glory to thee, our God, glory to thee. So in today's gospel, what we have is a continuation of our Lord's triumphant entry into Jerusalem. So basically, this is Holy Week that we are looking at. He's entered into Jerusalem, he goes back out of the city, he comes back in. During that trip, he is desirous of having something to eat. He sees a fig tree. Even though it's out of season, he sees a fig tree in leaf, expects it to have figs. It does not, and he curses it, and later on we find that it is withered and died. Now, as you may know, this is actually one of the stories that we have of our Lord that makes me, personally, a little nervous. And that's because the fig tree is a fig tree. It is only doing what it is expected to do. And in the Gospel of Mark, unlike the Gospel of Matthew, we actually have an elaboration on it where it's said that the fig tree is out of season. It's growing leaves, but it's not really season for fruit. And yet what happens? It's not bearing fruit. Our Lord sees that. He curses it, and the tree withers and dies. What are we to make of that? I would suggest taking a look at this particular story as we understand the parable of the sheep and the goats in the Gospel of Matthew, found in Matthew 25, and also in Matthew 25, the story of the wise and foolish virgins. The problem with the fig tree isn't that it's a fig tree. We know that it's a fig tree. It's going to bear fruit at some point. The problem is, when it came time for it to provide something to the master, it stayed with its own seasonal understanding and was barren. We, as Christians, as people who live committed to Jesus Christ, are expected to bear fruits worthy of our true calling, regardless of whether or not they are in season. So, I gave you those two parables to look at. The first one is a reminder that at all times and in every hour it is appropriate to look out after the least of these, our brethren, because when we serve them, we serve Christ. So in every season, not just when people are looking, not just when we think it's the meet and right time, but every time and in every hour, it is appropriate to feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, to visit the sick and imprisoned, to clothe the naked. All of those things are expected to be done at every time, so that we would be a fig tree that bears fruit in every season, whether it be summer or winter, whether it be fall or spring. The fruit of our efforts is there. We would not be cursed if we did that. Now, the wise and foolish virgins, each of them knew what their responsibilities were, and each of them knew that they had to make sure that they were ready because the bridegroom was going to come at a time when they least expected. And lo and behold, because they were foolish and unprepared, they had not set the equipment aside that was necessary for their lamps to be fully functioning. They needed the oil for the lamps to remain burning brightly. So they had to run to the one who sold the oil and collect it from him and come back. And by that time, it was too late. They did not acquire their needed things in the proper time. And what happens? They are left on the outside looking in and disregarded by the bridegroom. So the fig tree and these two parables remind us that we can never fall away from our responsibilities. We can never think that there's an off season. We can never think that it's okay not to do things now because we'll just do them later. We do not know the time of his coming. We must be ready. The tree was not, and as a result, it was not ever again. May God have mercy on us and may give us the wisdom to do what we can to be ready in all times, every place, and every hour.